Ja, testi pelletier initially, moidish gijni initially, Billigana Basachin, Kilachidi Dasache, Billigana Chanele. Welcome back to Resball. We're back on the draft now. What do you know? Finally came about. I had quite a bit of work and things to do. As I said in the previous Piston Pod with Andy, it really just came down to like, okay, I only have one time a week to do this. Andy and I committed to it, and Jam and I's schedules like haven't always completely lined up. So I waited till the end of the semester, and now that we're here, gonna do something different instead of like chunking guys into like, oh, let's look at this player type, let's have this discussion. I'm gonna try and release as many prospect breakdowns as possible. They're gonna be a little different though, to not like step on anybody's toes and like go over certain film, and also not to go particularly long with some of these. Like some of the resources and things I will point to are incredibly long, they're incredibly helpful, but again, not everybody's got that kind of stuff. Who would I start with? Well, again, I am here in Tucson, Arizona. The last draft pod I did, really, I kind of let off with him, and that's Carter Bryant. So anytime I have a guy here that I know a little bit more on, well, I mean, I know more on the guys here since I'm at the university. I'm in Tucson, go to the games. When you're more connected to the community, obviously you're going to have more knowledge on Carter Bryant. So before I dive into it, I'm going to give you a little bit of how this is going to go and why I came up with this format that I did. Again, this is my first one, so we'll see how long it goes. I definitely don't want to go past like 30, 45 minutes. It's really just giving you an idea of who the young person is, their stats, their measurements, what the breakdown of the game is like. And thanks to CBB Analytics, I also am going to bring up some shot chart things, which if you're watching on YouTube, you'll get to see, but I'll try and break it down as best as I can. Be my words if you're just listening in through the podcast. And the way that they set up their shot chart app, it's in the 6 grid, but I'm going to narrow it down to 3. So every time I bring up somebody, I'm going to have 2 other guys shot chart next to them. And I'm going to try and group them in terms of either position or like type, like the point guards. I'll try and look at other point guards there, guys that are thought of as just bucket getters, shot creators, whatever you want to call it. These guys that sometimes they're criticized for all they do is score. Like I'll try and group those guys together. And today with Carter Bryant, it's going to be more about like the power forward, kind of combo forward dudes who have role malleability, as I like to call it. And then I try to end with like, if you're going to draft this guy, this is my comp. And for me, comps are a thing where I try to do it as one-to-one as possible. The only time I really at the end decide like, okay, they don't have a one-to-one comp that I feel comfortable with is because they have like a unique skill set. My example with this is always Cade Cunningham. Cade, to me, when I first heard about him, people were saying like Jason Kidd, like I don't know if he'll score a lot, but he's definitely like the point guard. He'll set everybody up. Maybe the jumper comes along later in life, like a Jay Kidd, and he's all about being a bigger point guard using that size. But then he went to Oklahoma State, shot incredibly well from 3, had a bad assist to turnover ratio, so it made people rethink who he was. But when you watch the film, at first you're like, okay, maybe he's more of a scorer, but then you break it down more. You see games. I bring up that Wichita State game all the time because that was one of those games where you can see Cade's overall impact of making the shot at the right time and continually focused on defense and making defensive plays and being a defensive playmaker as well. So somebody like that, to where at the end I'm like, okay, Devin Booker, right? You still see he is a fantastic playmaker like Devin Booker is, but the scoring is undeniable, and that's what's going to propel him forward. The shot, the jumper looks great and was super reliable. And then on defense, Jason Tatum. That's why I still think that a lot with Cade. It's like he's a combination of those two guys. He's coming into his own, being his own player. Dylan Harper this year has been compared to Cade because of those things, to a bigger guard who gets downhill, gets to the rim, sets up shots for everybody. So that's an example. There's not going to be too many guys like that in this draft class where I don't really nail down a comp, and Carter Bryant is no exception. So without further ado, all the intros won't be this long. It's the first one, so I just want to give you an idea of, like, again, how I put this together, the format for each show, and my spiel with comps. If you listen to me long enough, Jam and I are big on comps. So let's look at Carter Bryant. Everything I get, I'll try and tell you where it's from. The stats are always going to come from Sports Reference. I always like Sports Reference and how they break it down. You can go through their game logs, check out some splits and stuff. So the stats will be coming from Sports Reference. The measurements are from the combine, but I'm pulling them from Hoops Hype because the NBA has yet to post these measurements on their combine website. Why, I don't know. So thank you so much to Hoop Hypes. And again, the shot charts are going to come from CBB Analytics. I'll give you a little spiel on CBB Analytics later. And then lastly, I'll give you some YouTube recommendations to go look at if you want to see more Carter Bryant, which you should. Carter Bryant's from Riverside, California. That's where he grew up. He started at Fountain Valley High School, which is where his dad, Deshaun Bryant, uh, coached him for that 1 year. Transferred over to the Sage Hill School for sophomore and junior year. Junior year is when he blows up for 22.1 points per game, 13.7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.9 blocks, and 1.6 steals. I mean, he was doing it all there at Sage Hill School. And then for his final season, transfers over into Centennial High School, which he averaged 17 points, 9 rebounds there, and then ended up here at Arizona. Bear down, thank God. His pops, Deshaun, played at Long Beach State too. So if you're like, Deshaun Bryant sounds familiar, well, if you're from the LBC or you're a Long Beach State fan, that's probably why you've heard that name. Carter Bryant this year at Arizona, 6.5 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 1 assist per game, 0.9 steals, 1 block, and then 1 turnover per game. Shooting splits for Carter are 59.2% from 2-point range, 37.1% from 3-point range, and then 69.5% from the free throw line. Break these stats down a little bit further into advanced stats. 59.3% true shooting, fantastic, especially for a role player. 58% and above is what you want. Somewhere around 60% is ideal role player true shooting for me, because that's elite. And, they're really not wasting a shot out there. 59.7% three-point attempt rate, too. That's probably something that goes unsaid and unheralded about Carter, as he was mainly a floor spacer. And anybody that watched Arizona this year, part of the turning point was inserting Carter Bryant and Henry Vassar more into the lineup. And the spacing that Carter Bryant provided was the biggest help on offense to me, especially for like Caleb Love, Jaden Bradley, even KJ Lewis, who doesn't shoot threes, is a bad shooter. All these guards that like to attack and like to do things, and they needed that spacer to help pull people off of them. So 59.3% true shooting for Carter Bryant, 59.7% three-point attempt rate, and then 33.5% free throw attempt rate. That's pretty good considering he only had a 16.4% usage. Anything over 30% from free throw attempt rate means you're pretty solid, in my opinion. And if you have usage under 20% and a free throw attempt rate over 30, who knows, if they give you the ball more, probably a good idea there. A couple of things in the advanced stats, though, that give you pause. Number one, the rebound rate, 11.9% total rebound rate. You see the difference between offensive rebounding, 5.3 offensive rebounder, 17.8% defensive rebounder. Even that defensive rebounding rate, this is somebody who's supposed to be a power forward, like that's his NBA position. Not exactly killing it on the glass if you look at per 40 minutes. I don't really like to use per 40 or per 100, but they give you an idea of like, okay, those numbers don't seem great. What if you gave them more opportunity? What would the rebounding look like? 8.5 rebounds, like that's okay per 40, and then per 100, 12.1 rebounds. So you're like, okay, those seem to indicate that he would be a better rebounder if given more minutes. Put a pin in that, or circle back to that here in a minute. Bigger concern, assist to turnovers, 8.3% assist rate to just 15.4% turnover rate. Anytime you're around 2-to-1 turnover to assist rate, bad, very, very bad. Look at the total numbers too, 36 assists to 37 turnovers. When you look at that, you're like, whatever, it's almost a 1-to-1. He's like a supplementary player, but the assist rate is something to look at in more detail, and also to understand like where the role definitely hurt him. And especially if you're a role player, two things you got to do is take care of the ball and take care of your shots. We got the true shooting down. He's not wasting many of those, but the turnover part is still an issue to me. Yeah, 15.4% on 16.4% usage. Again, like you're turning the ball over too much, man, for my liking. Measurements for Carter Bryant: 6'6.5" without shoes, measured at the combine. 214.8 pounds for Carter Bryant, and then his wingspan is 6'11.75, so just a little teeny bit under 7 foot wingspan. So again, Carter Bryant, 6 foot 6.5 inches without shoes, 214.8 pounds, and then 6'11 3/4 wingspan there. So good size, good wingspan. He's listed at 6'8". This is where the without shoes thing bothers me. If you listen to Raphael and James Barlow recording and reporting draft combine, they heard that there are some guys like putting orthotics in their socks while they're measuring out here. I think that was Carter Bryant, but it's funny to me. And again, we don't play basketball without shoes, so just think he's like 6'7" out there on the court, 214, 6'11 3/4, almost a 7 foot wingspan. Again, all this is running into a very good role player, 6'7", about 215, not wasting shots. Over half of his shots come from 3-point range. The issues come with, okay, he's turning the ball over too much for being in this limited role, not really passing out of it a lot. And that's the other part of the assist rate that's more concerning, is like when you gave him the ball, it wasn't going anywhere else really. Like you see him pass out sometimes, but 8.3 assists. This is the difficult part of it for me. Is like, yes, it's bad. Yes, it's really low, but he's a play finisher. If you're going to argue for Carter Bryant being more, I'm not going to stand in your way, because I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about his background and when I first saw him in high school and when I started with those high school numbers there. Again, as a junior, he averaged 4 assists. I think he is a better playmaker than what he was asked to do here. And again, I would go to bat for him more, because if you look at that Sage Hill tape, if you look at the Centennial tape, he looked like a combo forward. And that was part of the breakdown of him coming out of high school, was like, you know what, if you give this guy the ball, I don't know that he's going to be the most efficient guy, but I do know that he's going to get points, that he's going to use that jumper, and that he is going to get assists, because it seemed like he was the man, and they let him operate as a point forward as a junior and as a senior at 2 different schools. So again, I know it's bad here, but here at Arizona, we asked him to be a play finisher. That's part of the reason why the assist rate is so low and why there's more turnovers. There's one more turnover, so it's not like super alarming, but it is concerning, and part of the reason why like Carter Bryant probably gets knocked down the board for other people, not necessarily for me. But you got to go back and look at the high school tape to see, like, okay, this guy does actually know how to pass. He can do it on the move. It's just that Arizona, they were like, okay, buddy, stand over here. We need you to mainly be a 3-point shooter. Let's look at that shot chart. Right here, we got Carter Bryant. Uh, Again, CBB Analytics, they do a great job with their shot charts here on their app. If you're looking to find shot charts for college players, look at stats breakdown and everything like that, they do a fantastic job at CBB Analytics. You got to go and pay for a subscription there. They have a couple different options. If you're just a layman like me, just somebody who's a fan and wants to see, they have one option for you that's a little limited. If you're working for a team, actually, then they have another pro subscription that's going to give you the full range of things that you can look into. But even at my level, you can look at like on-off lineup numbers. And again, to me, one of the more important things to look at here is the shot chart. I start off with the simple zones. I'm going to break it down here a little bit into more what they call medium zones, but it's more of like areas on the court where you can see how often they shoot and all that. So let's just look at the simple zones first. Again, the regular stat breakdown we gave you here was 37.1% from 3 on 2.8 attempts per game for Carter Bryant. Well, if you look at the shot chart, you're like, I don't know about this. Above the break threes here, which is basically anything that's not from the corner in 3-point range, 32.4%, 22 of 68. So you're like, that doesn't look that great. Blue means cold, red means hot. So blue, obviously not so good, the lighter blue. Approaching white, which is neutral. You start to look at that and you're like, maybe it's not so much of a shooter then, even though he took over half of his shots from 3. From the corners, however, it starts to turn. 17 of 37 for 45.9% from the corners. Again, a 6'7" guy, 215, is probably playing power forward. Yes, absolutely. Stick him in the corners and make that be his role to start off. And then 82.9% at the rim. It's only 41 shots. He didn't get to the rim super often, But we start to see a Daryl Morey special type of guy. Again, if you're unfamiliar with what that means, it's kind of my own creation of Daryl Morey famously built the Rockets with guys and role players that mainly shot threes and took shots at the rim and didn't do anything else. Unless you were James Harden, you weren't taking a mid-range shot. Everybody else is told, shoot threes, get to the rim, don't do anything else. You start to see that here with Carter Bryant because only 18 shots in the mid-range, only 12 shots in the paint. Everything else came from at the rim, 34 of 41, 82.9%, or in the corner, 17 of 37, 45.9%, or above the break, 32.4%. All right, let's go into what they call these medium zones, which to me is more like, okay, let's find your spots. It breaks it down from the right wing, which is like the right side of above the break threes, the top of the key, which is basically right down the middle behind the arc of three, and then on the left side of the arc, and then in both corners. Let's start over here. Left corner three, Carter Bryant was 11 of 23, 47.8%. Go to the opposite corner, like maybe he's one side dominant because you'll find that with a lot of guys. Like if you just break down their corner numbers, it looks good. But then when you break it like this, whether they shoot left corner, whether they shoot right corner, one side's better. Not so much the case with Carter Bryant. 6 of 14 from the right corner, 42.9%. So over 42% from both corners. And then the bad spot is the left wing on the left side above the break, 8 of 32, 25%. And really, that's the only bad part from 3-point range. On the top of the key, 6 of 15 from the longest part of the court, shooting threes, 40%, 6 of 15. And then from the right wing, 8 of 21, 38.1%. So really, it's only from that left wing where he shot poorly. Everything else, again, everything else there, 38% or better. From the corners, 42% or better. And then top of the key was 40%. That's definitely something you can work with. The one thing any skeptic or like, I don't know, like, oh, what was the shot he took the most? Oh, it was Frere from the left wing. And that was the one he was the worst at. Again, think about the role. It depends on who has the ball, who passes it out to him. Jaden Bradley, Caleb Love, they're the guys that had the ball the most. Trey Townsend had it occasionally, and they're going to pitch it out to the left side because they like to drive right, and that's where they want to get spacing and stuff. So that's just the shot that he took the most. And I mean, you can look at it another way of like group all the other 3-point shots against just that one left wing. That's a very good percentage there. Couple that with 82.9% at the rim. Again, you have the great basic building blocks for a role player who's a power forward, who is a good 3-point shooter, really is only struggling from one area, and doesn't take things in the mid range, so he's not wasting things there, and didn't really take anything of the paint either, only 12 shots. But when he got to the rim, 82.9%, all of this is good. I'm going to be comparing him to Yaxiel Lindenborg, Eric Dixon as well. This is why the shot chart's up here. So if you're looking at this on YouTube, get a little bit of a preview in there and an idea of why they're here. I did also try and put these shot charts together based on like who I ranked you close to and again, the role that you're probably going to play. All three of these guys, Carter Bryant, Yaxiel, and Eric Dixon, they're going to be playing power forward in the NBA. That's what they project as. They're probably all going to be projecting as somewhat of a stretch four, probably a little less over Yaxiel. I mean, Eric Dixon, that's all he does is bomb away threes, and that's probably where he's going to make his money. I have Carter and Yaxiel right next to each other on the big board. I have Yaxiel at 12, and I have Carter Bryant at 13. I'm probably higher on both guys than most, but it's for this reason of like big body dudes who can shoot threes and they don't waste shots. Yaxiel was more of the number one guy for UAB, but in the NBA, like nobody's going to come in and just give him all that time and usage. Yaxiel worked on his jumper, still a really good athlete, and still, I mean, he took way more shots at the rim, 223, but it still profiles pretty much that same kind of dude. It's just Yaxiel has more on ball juice than Carter because he's had 2 years at UAB and 5 total in junior college and at UAB. And then Eric Dixon, same thing. He's been there like 5 years, I think. Came in 2020, maybe the last Jay Wright guy ever to be drafted, but he's probably closer to Carter Bryant where you're like, just shoot threes, man. That's really all we're going to ask you to do. And looking at this, sure, Carter Bryant got the least amount of shine and usage here. And I know a lot of people that want to look at production first is going to really like poo poo on Carter Bryant because you're like, come on, really 6.5 points per game. He only played 19.3 minutes per game. Like, how are you going to argue for this dude? Well, in the last 22 games for Carter Bryant, they started to play him more. I believe it started on January 21st, 27th, somewhere around there. That's when Tommy Lloyd and staff were like, okay, let's play this guy 20 minutes. There were only like one or two games where he played under 20 minutes. And last 22 games, games 18 through 37, averaged 22.3 minutes per game. And Carter Bryant's averages were 7.3 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 0.9 assists, 0.9 steals per game, 1.4 blocks per game, 1.3 turnover per game. Shooting splits in these last 22 games, or 22 games for Carter Bryant were 48.8% from 2 point range, 38.5% from 3 point range, and then 81.6% from the free throw line. Two things to look at. Number one is the turnovers do go up more. That's the negative side of it. 17 assists to just 26 turnovers. So again, it's why I harp and talked about the turnovers more for being a limited role player guy, like 17 to 26. That's a bad assist to turnover ratio. So that's something that he has to work on. But if you're a play finisher in the NBA, say you're playing like a Trey Young, say you're playing like a Cade Cunningham, say you're playing with like a De'Aaron Fox, like all teams that could land Carter Bryant at some point, just give you the ball and do what you do, put up a shot, do whatever. Don't necessarily pass out of it. So again, I spent a little bit of time saying in high school, whatever my introduction to Carter Bryant was as this kind of like combo forward, point forward at times. I think that's going to take a while to come around. But at the same time, you see the role malleability. He went from being the man in high school who had the ball, had to create and do all these other things, and then came into Arizona where at first they didn't really seem like they wanted to play him, but then he found his spot as a 3 point shooter, as a spacer for Caleb Love and Jaden Bradley and Trey Townsend and these other guys, and as a weak side shot blocker. 1.4 blocks per game in these last 22 games. That's the part that goes up for sure. Is like you definitely see him and Henry Vesar's impact on defense, and Carter Bryant coming to clean up at the rim when somebody missed their assignments. 27 blocks in these last 22 games. And if you're not the center and you're averaging over 1 block per game, definitely got the instincts. And then the free throw percentage goes way up. So if you remember 69.5% is what Carter Bryant shot for the whole season. But then in those last 22 games, he was 31 of 38 at the free throw line, 81.6%. Fantastic way to finish the season. You see his shot getting better and rounded off. And the jumper looks fantastic. He's got a nice high release. He's got a good follow through with it. He has very good mechanics both in his upper body and his lower body. To me, like there's nothing that needs to change. And that is what is going to help him earn minutes as a rookie right away. And why I have Carter Bryant at 13, like at the end of the lottery. This is the exact kind of guy you want to look at. He's got size, around 6'7", 215. He's got a good wingspan, 6'11", 3/4. He has the background of like, hey, look, he was the man. He knew how to pass the ball. He did a little bit of everything, got a ton of blocks. He got a good amount of steals, 4 assists per game, over 20 points. Like you start to see, yeah, again, maybe we don't have a high pick. Maybe we landed a little bit lower. Let's find somebody that we know can fill a role immediately, but then also slowly work their way into doing a little more. A la somebody like Mikal Bridges. I don't think that's definitely not Carter Bryant's 1-to-1 comp. But to me, it's easy to buy into the freshman who has all that in his background and came in and immediately Arizona really helped turn around their season. Without him and Vesar, I don't think Arizona is as good as they are. And they went further in the tournament than a lot of people thought. Again, I'm here in Tucson. Trust me, January 1st, 2025, we were all thinking, let's look in the next year. With Cole Pete looks pretty good. That's what everybody was thinking. Is the non-conference games did not go well, and yes, they did play some tough games, but it was Vesar, it was Carter Bryant coming in, stabilizing things so that all the other seniors and Caleb and those guys can take some pressure off of them because they needed these role players and bigger bodies to come in and pick it up on defense and be super efficient. Last couple things here on Carter Bryant are more of my personal things. I mean, his pops played at Long Beach State, so again, if you remember that Long Beach State team a while ago, and you heard Deshaun Bryant, that's where he's from. The personal thing I do want to highlight, I cannot say enough good things about Carter Bryant's character and his family. Again, when you're tapped into the place, when you're here, like you get to see and hear more things. Everybody just has glowing remarks about the young man, Carter Bryant, and who he is. His work with the deaf community has been going on since his time back in Riverside because his parents are both deaf and he learned how to sign, and his mom has really instilled in him and his sisters about, respect and about continuing to open up accessibility for areas where the deaf community haven't been allowed. Their mom and their sisters have helped like deaf girls join the volleyball team and things back there in Riverside, and just the character and the young man. That's one of the things that kind of goes unsaid in draft spaces too, is when you can buy into the person, that puts that prospect over the edge. And why sometimes when you look at players with kind of ass stats, it's like this, because you look at the background, you understand the role that they played and how impactful that is, even if it doesn't always show up in the stat sheet. And then the person, you buy into the person as being professional, being respectful, and being there to work and do whatever it takes to help the team out, which everything there for Carter Bryant, that's what it screams to me. My comp for Carter Bryant is Marcus Morris. Like, that's who I see. I don't know if he's quite as tall as Marcus Morris, because Marcus was like 6'8", 6'7"-ish. So Carter is a little bit under that, probably 6'7", too, but it's same kind of things, 215. He definitely doesn't have the mean streak that Marcus Morris has, but I think he has the role malleability where he's probably coming in more as a four-man first, rebounding, shoot threes, but he has the ball handling, he has the passing that eventually more and more coaches turned over to Marcus Morris, and he's not like the number two guy. Sometimes he can function as a number three, and I, as a Piston fan, probably saw like the best and idealized version of Marcus Morris, where you can rely on him to be a three at some points, continue to play tough defense and fill in the gaps on there. And there's a reason why Marcus Morris played such an incredibly long amount of time, and every team that had him loved him. I mean, Stan Van Gundy, when he was with the Pistons, called him his favorite player he ever coached because of that role malleability and the size that you can't teach. And with Carter, I think he's an even better shooter, so that's going to help him out a lot more. Again, depending on the team that drafts him, there are going to be some teams that just want him to stick to being a stretch four, maybe occasionally go over to three and do things. Other teams are going to be like, okay, we got patience with you. We can bring you along slowly and eventually let you run some offense and things. And either way, I think he's going to be great. I think this is a guy that ends up being like Marcus Morris in the NBA. Couple YouTube things to look at here. The Arizona Wildcats posted Carter Bryant's media availability there in the combine about 21 hours ago, so definitely go check that out. Some of the best draft videos I've seen so far on Carter Bryant are Derek Parker. Has about an 11-minute, 30-second video on him. And then Hardwood Hoops Central NBA Draft Green Room. That's going to be one of the channels I recommend the most throughout this draft cycle. I mean, their videos are long, though. When I laughed about not being too long and seeing some out there that are super long, all of Hardwood Hoops Central NBA Draft Green Rooms videos are going to be like at least an hour long. Some of them are like 2 hours long, but they are as thorough as possible, breaking down so much film. I mean, whoever operates this account, shout out to you, man, because the amount of time you put in there is fantastic. So, and Carter Bryant's just one of those kids that, again, I can't say enough good about the young man. Everybody here raves about him. His teammates can't say enough good things about him. Everything he was able to do here in Tucson, I think he kind of like molded, but he's somebody like him that's for sure should go in the draft. And anybody that picks outside of the top 10, like, you absolutely should consider Carter Bryant, because he definitely has the role malleability. He is going to come in and be a stretch four, number one. And who knows, if you can develop him right, be patient, ball handling and the passing can come along. But think Marcus Morris, that's who we're looking at with Carter Bryant. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to us. Come right back with Yaxia Lindenborg and Eric Dixon. Stay tuned.